All right. Back like we never left. Back like back like back to school. What am I even missing? It is Youth Sports, baby. Hope Mbhele today. Really go with some power. And you guys have been harassing me on the DM saying, I will Youth Sports, and here we are. And with me, I've got Samkelo and Ayanda. Hi guys, welcome.
Hello. We are Bafana thanks and you. According to Rory Pretzer, we are Bafana thanks and you.
Is that how we say it now?
Yeah, I'm Bafana thanks and you as well.
Okay, I'm
Bafana 2024.
Thanks.
It's Bafana 2024.
It's been a while. Happy 2024. Happy New Year to all of our viewers and our subscribers. Do subscribe to the show. Like the page. Share it. Let's start and catch up. It's been a while. Ayanda, last time you were here, you were at Radio DYR. Tell us now. The grass is greener on the other side.
What? Had I not moved yet?
No,
before?
you had not.
Right now I'm at, obviously I was at DYR before and then switched over to Gaga CFM. So if you're listening to Gaga CFM Drive 3 to 6 Monday to Friday.
Advertising station. And Samkelo, you are currently a student at DUT, your last year, right?
Yeah, I'm doing my final year in journalism at DUT.
Nice.
But I'm also at DYR currently, so yeah, I'm like the new
Ayanda replacement.
So yeah, I'm doing sports at DYR currently, and yeah, I'm a student as well. So yeah.
Okay, lots to catch up to and about. 2024 has started off really wild when it comes to the sports industry. Starting at SA20. Back, and it was the finals. And what happened, dog?
Yeah, it's the Sunrisers Eastern Cape SA20 actually.
Literally.
So back-to-back champions.
Successfully defended the cup. I was just about to say, successfully defended.
Yeah.
They've had a really great season or tournament rather, and I have to say they've played well throughout. But I had hope. DSG gave me hope the one time it beat Sunrisers Eastern Cape.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what, if we've done it once, we can do it again. But what happened at the finals? Because we didn't even come close. Did we even show up?
Yeah, look, I think going into the final, Mangayo, Sunrisers had too much momentum on their side. Obviously, they're a very good team, have a very good squad. But I do think Uguti, their bowling attack won them the entire tournament. Started slow, like you said, the DSG were able to beat them in the second game of the tournament. Ikemi was a no results. But from then, winning 7 games, only losing 2. Having guys like Marco Jansen, Othniel Bartman. In fact, their top 3 bowlers are the top 3 wicket takers in the SA20. So that's definitely where they won it, I feel, especially in the final, given the fact Joguti, they were taking quick wickets. They bowled Kuzani DSG outs in less than 150 after posting 200. So they're a very good side, well-deserved champions, getting back-to-back. They're a much better team this season than they were last season, because remember, last season, bangena ngembobo yenaliti kwilokuzana kuma playoffs, and this season they just blew everyone away.
Sure.
No, I would agree that Sunrisers are a better team than last season.
Yeah. But so are DSG. We had an overall better team this year. Yeah. And I was hopeful throughout. And yeah,
that's where I was going with it. Even DSG also were a better team this season. But considering the fact that they're coming from rather disappointing performance from last season, and Sunrisers are picking up from a win, So I guess we can only hope we will see DSG next season does well. But also congratulations to the Eastern Cape Sunrisers, and they have a fantastic squad. As you said, they have the top 3 best
wicket takers.
Wicket takers. So that should say a lot.
But I think because I was actually at the what do you call this? Like
the auction.
I was at the auction. Yeah. Yes, I was actually at the SA20 auction. So, do we almost blame the teams for not they had the best 3 wicket takers, or how do we make DSG better in the next year and the next season?
Yeah, I think it's just because they've played well. They've had a good tournament, doing very well compared to how they played last season. So I just think Yeah, Henry Klaassen, guys like Klaassen is the second highest run taker in the league in SA20 this season. Yeah. Guys like Vian Mulder doing really well. Bowling attack as well, Keshav Maharaj, Junior Dala, Marcos Stoinis coming there. So they have a very good side, one of the best well-rounded teams, but isn't it like I feel like the openers, especially the likes of Quinton de Kock, could have done a lot better in this tournament to making sure they set that platform before guys like Klaassen, because Klaassen is batting at number 6, number 5. So by the time Mfiga at least there's a foundation there. So I think improving on that front isn't they're definitely going to be much better next season.
Okay. Yeah, of course. And I think we would see for the rest of the tournament as well, not just the finals. Our openers haven't really given us the best, performances. Particularly Quinton de Kock, who is a huge player, an international player, someone that we would expect so much from him, as being a senior player as well in the team. So I think in the next season, we should expect at least to see performance. But in terms of players, we were one of the teams who had one of the best players in the tournament. So we can only expect for them to improve their performance. But in terms of players, I think we're cool.
Yeah. Aye, we cool like that. Shout out to SEC, of course, for taking it. Let's go straight to it. AFCON 24, 23. AFCON 23 got AFCON 24. Which one is it?
It's 23. Because it was supposed to play last year. Remember?
I know.
It was moved. So the branding doesn't change.
Doesn't change. Yeah. So it's still AFCON 23. Yeah. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
What's up? What's up, guys? Let's chat about it.
As you can see,
they were hating on me as they came in. They're like, why aren't you wearing your Bafana jersey? I'm like, hey, which one? The white one that no one can get a hold of.
Even I was being hated on for wearing the Proteas jersey. So I guess you guys know who was doing the hating now.
Exactly. Wear your Bafana shirts.
Okay, let's start it off with Bafana as a team. What is the difference between this team compared to the other years? Is it Hugo Bros? Is it the actual players? What did we do differently this tournament?
I think it's a combination of things. I think firstly, the man in charge is someone who has a very strong character. This is how I do things and I don't turn. And he believed in the group of players that he picked. I don't necessarily believe he picked the best squad from all the players about Mzansi, but he believed in his players.
Sometimes
yeah, so he got the majority of the top players, which are Sundowns players, obviously. But I feel like he could have picked a better squad, but it doesn't matter because the boys came into the tournament and they did well. And I think the biggest shift in Bafana in the last 2 years since Hugo Bruce has come in is the mentality of the team. We may not be the most talented African team in terms of pound for pound, player for player, but the mentality and the resolve in the team to be able to grind out results and manage a game. Like you're talking about getting 5 clean sheets in the AFCON. That's just down to grit and actually being able to have that character. We're not going to concede goals. We're not going to be losing games. So I think it's those things and the Sundowns factor. We have to mention that as well. Having players who play regularly on the African continent. About Sundowns, we had a back four made of Sundowns players, midfielders and attackers. So that counts for a lot. So I think it's a combination of things all put together.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it is a combination of things. And I always get, very nervous when people say, they just put it on one thing. Maybe it's Hugo Bruce. Oh, it's Sundowns. Oh, it's this, it's that, it's this player.
It's a team spirit.
It is a team spirit. And then to have players who've been there, done that in terms of, continental competitions with Sundowns players, a lot of them having played in the CAF Champions League, and Upesitao as well, who is a big game player, who unfortunately for this tournament didn't really give us the best. But we'll get into that. But Hugo Bruce has been chopping and changing the squad, from since he came, into the reins. But I think finally he did get his squad. I think at some point, maybe around May, June, when we were playing these qualifiers, I'd figured out, I think he has his squad. And, he's a very bold manager and he knows what he wants. And also his ability to change his mind when he sees that something is different, initially he had opted not to pick Temazwane, for example, because of his age, merely because of his age. And then he admitted, that was literally the only reason. But ever since I saw his performance, I thought, no.
It's unfair.
It's unfair. Why not have him in the squad? And, he has been a revelation since.
Yeah.
Let's talk about our captain and his contribution to maybe how we've played and how far we actually made it. Ronwen Williams and the debate about goalkeeper of the tournament. How much of a factor was he to us winning?
Look, I think Historiska Ronwen is something that touches me really like Gakulu because of the criticism that is received from a lot of South African fans, which most of it is unwarranted because we've always known Nguti is a top goalkeeper from his days at SuperSport United, coming through to Sundowns. But there was always a doubt about Sue Williams and his pedigree, simply because of, largely because of the number of goals he's conceded with Bafana in previous games. But that's not the same Bafana team. And I think going into this tournament, he had a lot to prove. He had a lot of swagger about him, given the fact that Ogwi Sundowns and he's used to playing in these high pressure environments. He came in with the swagger. Yes, we lost the first game, but he got 5 clean sheets in the AFCON, and those penalty saves, we know how good he is comes to those penalties, but it's just his ability to puff his chest. Ashruguti, I'm your guy and I got you, Bafana is not great at penalties. We've seen in this AFCON, but we're not great at penalties. But we know he's gonna save those 2 or 3 or 4 penalties.
But is that fair? Is it fair to depend on penalty? Let's go to the Nigeria game.
Yeah.
It's a game that I feel as if we shouldn't have taken it to the penalties. Why says Lalisa if we can put it that way. But there's some instances where I feel as if because we know how good of a player Ronan was, it's almost like okay for us to see a penalty.
Psychologically, yes, they had that shift. Yeah.
No, I just want to defend the players, guys, on this one. I think of course it was unfair for him. Again, we had to give him so much pressure of going there in a much bigger stage, in a more, intense game. It's Nigeria versus SA. There was so much at stake. But at the same time,
I think the guys against Ama Queen.
Yes. But at the same time, I think the guys really did their best. Had that Mutao chance gone in, we would have been speaking a different story, But at the same time, it was too much pressure for him. I wasn't of course I was hoping, but I wasn't expecting him to pull the same performance, as he did in the Cape Verde game, So I think the guys did their best. I mean, at some stages of the game, we were all over Nigeria, but we were just unlucky.
Do you think that he deserves keeper of the tournament?
Should Nwabili concede?
Yeah, because this is shot before the final game.
Yeah.
So we're going to take your predictions just now, but this is before each game. So as Gagaibugi finally AFCON right now.
Of course. But I think for me, I think he is goalkeeper of the season. Because in terms of clean sheets, I think they have the same amount of clean sheets as Unwabi.
Yeah.
But if
just
you
more penalty saves.
Exactly. Then you have to get into those things like penalty saves, like his contribution, outside of saving goals, because he's been very pivotal in build-up. He's very confident, and I think that's where you also have to give credit to the Sundowns factor, because this Williams is, let's be honest, he was a great goalkeeper at SuperSport, but he wasn't this confident, in terms of build-up. He's so important in build-up play. He knows when to pass the ball, he knows when not to.
And even as a leader, I feel like he took it upon himself as in motivating the boys. I've seen a lot of the videos. When I actually went to watch the semi-finals at Boake in Ivory Coast, and he was the first one who stood up after they had lost and came to the fans.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
leadership.
His team followed, and I had goosebumps. I was like, man, this guy is a leader. It reminds me of Usia Kolisi,
Yeah.
He's just that, and I think it's one of those things that we needed, and especially maybe going back to the AFCON next year and seeing what is into Zihamba Ganjani.
Yeah.
But
and
I want,
just on that point of leadership, I think that's something that filtered a lot through to the players as well, because Bafana also has a lot of leaders. You have guys who are marshalling the midfield like Tebo Khumkwena, guys like Grant Skekana, Motobi Mvala, who've done extremely well, and Percy Tau in his own right. He didn't have a tournament. He didn't have a great tournament, but it doesn't mean he's a bad player just for having just one off tournament. So there's a lot of Bafana leaders in that team, and Ronan is definitely someone who's spearheading all of that as the captain.
Okay.
Yeah, I think experience played a huge role in this performance in this AFCON, because even young players like Mahopa, he does have international experience, having played for Bafana Bafana in the under-23 with Williams as well. You know, it's players who have been at, you know, of course not bigger stages that are as big as this one, but who've played international football. So it's that know-how, you know, mentality, you know. So I think it was a great performance overall. And Williams, you know, as Ayanda says, the leadership skills have filtered down to the other players, and I think everyone was just there to win it, man. Unfortunately, Nigeria has kept.
All right, looking forward to see what Bafana Bafana has in store for us in the upcoming AFCONs. But they've really raised hope for South Africa as a whole. And speaking of raising hopes, how is it looking for Nigeria and Ivory Coast? What are you guys' predictions going into the game?
Team Ivory Coast.
Hey,
All the way.
Ivory Coast all the way, bro. If anything, I think I'm gonna order an Ivory Coast T-shirt, a jersey, if it's online somewhere. You know, figure after the game. You know, as long as they win the game for us, guys.
It would be glorious. I mean, imagine winning Ifigegini Cup, you know, and I got to witness some of the greatest celebrations after they had won.
Yeah.
So it was really good. It was really nice seeing them celebrate from a game at about 10, 11.
Against
If
DRC,
4 exen. We celebrate hoods. Go check my Instagram. It's at Hope Mbhele and see some of the footage that I put there. But they really are such a beautiful nation, and I had such a good time. They were supporting us against Nigeria, believe it or not. They were at the stadium and they were saying, teach us some songs. So they definitely are such a beautiful nation, and I had such a great time. My only disappointment, I would say, in my experience with the AFCON going to Ivory Coast was that I think there's about 8 of us in the stadium.
South
Africans. I can literally count them in my head. Mama Joy, Saddam, Machaka, Mamelo, myself. There's literally 8 of us. 8 of us that flew. So I really hope that what this has done in restoring our faith is that we do get our jerseys and we do get behind Bafana Bafana, because we did the same thing in the World Cup last year when the rugby team made it. And I know a lot of people fight and say, but Springbok is strong, you know, it never disappoints us and this and this and that. But we have shown we have the capabilities to make it this far as Bafana Bafana. So I do really urge all South Africans, next year, see Morocco?
Yes, we're going to Morocco.
Obviously. Keep that man.
South Africa. Stella, please fix the economy so that everyone can afford to go to Morocco next year.
But that's another thing. The traveling is
expensive and it's
super
not
expensive.
safe and but how can, for example, Isafage, what can they do to make sure
because definitely something has to be done on that front. You know, I mean, we live in tough economic times, guys. Like it's very hard to ask people to go.
You can't expect them to do that.
Yeah, you can't expect people to leave their jobs and go to North Africa. You know, and watch and stay there for a month watching Bafana Bafana. As much as we all love to do it, you know, it's not something that's possible for everyone. But
46 million. 46 million. Next year,
get some super fans or something to go there with Mama Joy. Maybe you can increase on that part.
Yes.
You know, and then other South Africans were able to afford it.
Absolutely. Okay, predictions. Nigeria against Cote d'Ivoire.
So we'll see if we're vindicated or not. So I think Cote d'Ivoire have had a beautiful story. AFCON, they started very, very badly. I think they had a bad group stages, losing 4-0 to Equatorial Guinea, getting their coach sacked after the group stages, and then going on to reach the final. It's a fairy tale story for them, and I think the hosts are going to take it. As much as Nigeria is strong, and as much as I want them to lose, which they will lose, so I'll go with Cote d'Ivoire to win 2-1.
2-1.
You know, I think I've changed my mind.
How?
This guy.
How?
No, for real. No. I realized that I hope for Ivory Coast to win, but you know, putting everything into consideration, if we're really being honest about who has a better chance,
Nigeria
is a better team. Nigeria has been the better team of all the 4 teams in the semi-finals.
Better organized team. I don't think they are the better attacking team than Cote d'Ivoire.
Yeah, they are a better organized team, you know. And Cote d'Ivoire, they have a lot of mistakes.
They have a fighting spirit.
Exactly. See, Pume Mlonyane multiple times in this tournament. At some point, they were essentially out of the tournament.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, I think in terms of predictions, I'd say, guys, I really hope for Ivory Coast to win. But my honest opinion is Nigeria 1-0.
Niger boys.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
I hope it doesn't go to penalties. Whatever happens, we ask for goals. And you know yes, exactly. So that's the thing, is that if finally imnandi ngamakol. So as long as Guzokora, I'm for Team Ivory Coast. Anything that has to do with Nigeria and Jengamanje, I right. Right, ngani bayasibhaqaza lapha na Instagram. Yay. Apparently,
I gotta ask you guys, who do you think is taking player of the tournament?
Ooh.
Sure. That's a very tough one.
I don't know, maybe some zakho
the one that right now was goalkeeper of the season. So let me phrase that. Who do you think is having player of the tournament? Does it depend on who wins?
Yeah. I think it does have a huge bearing on it in the final. Even Lentoka goalkeeper. I think if Unwabale wins the AFCON, I think he automatically wins the Golden Glove. I think the two goalkeepers have to be in the conversation for player of the tournament, Ronen Williams and Stan Nwabali. I think a player like, I'm going to be biased here, obviously, but I think a player like Utebo Khumkwena, who's had a flawless tournament for Bafana Bafana, scored against Morocco, scored crucial penalties in the tournament. He has 2 goals, I think. You know, but besides Diamak goal, his performances leading that midfield. And also a big shout out to Ademola Lookman from Nigeria. 3 goals in the tournament, 3 important goals in the group stages. So I think those 4 would be my picks. And if I had to pick one, I'd have to go with Williams. Ronza for me. Ronza for his leadership with Bafana Bafana and his performances in terms of getting us to reach the semis and to win the bronze.
We're going to be very biased.
Yeah, of course.
Who's your player of the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of attacking prowess, I don't think there has been a player that has really been that good, you know, from the strikers. I mean, Osimhen, of course, is the reigning African player of the year, but he hasn't been really, you know, that effective. And if you look at even the top 3 teams, Ivory Coast, Bafana and Nigeria, in terms of attacking players, literally I think Umukwena is the only player of which now he's not an entirely, you know, attacking based player. So I think it will be between the 2 goalkeepers, especially if Nabili doesn't concede. I think he's taking player of the tournament. And at Ivory Coast, I've watched their games, but they've been really scraping wins, and there hasn't been a player who has stood out, you know, for me. And also the Nigerian defense, you know, I think one of those guys, the 2 centre backs, you know, they've had a really good tournament. So if Nigeria doesn't concede in this game and they win the final, I think between the goalkeeper Nwambili, pretty obvious, and one of the defenders. But my personal opinion, Tebo Khumukwena, guys, if stats are anything to go by, the guy is on his own.
It's in the wall.
Anyone. If that's anything to go by, it would be Umukwena. But knowing how these things usually work, it's always a player who's in the final. So
all right, guys, let's take it before we wrap it up to some news that I think everyone in every corner of the world stood still the day that this was published. Let's talk about the one and only Lewis Hamilton going to Ferrari. How are you feeling about that move, and what does this mean for his career?
Look, I feel like it was obviously a shock, like
because he had just signed
a 2-year extension with the Mercedes last season, so we expected him at least to finish his contract there, or even retire at Mercedes, because he's 39 now. You know, he's in the tail end of his career, but
it hasn't been a good
moves to Ferrari, which is a shock for many people, but I think it could end very well for him if his stars align, because I mean Ferrari is famous for Michael Schumacher, That's the guy is currently level with in terms of Formula One world titles with 7. Imagine winning number 8 at Ferrari. So that's something that could be massive for him. But also it could go the other way as well, because you've had guys like your Fernando Alonso's, your Sebastian Vettel's going to Ferrari, not quite working out at the end. So it could go both ways. I think Ferrari are gradually improving. They've been competitive, but not really at the level of Red Bull and the Mercedes in the past decade, I would say. But it's the Scuderia at the end of the day. They are the most successful Formula One team in history with the most successful Formula One driver in history. I think it's a good it could be a good fairy tale ending for Hamilton if he's able to get that number 8 with the Ferrari.
That's what we thought would happen when number 7 came back home. And we were all like, oh, he's gonna retire in Man United, and then what happened? But he's also pairing up with Leclerc going to Ferrari. How is this going to affect does this put them in a line? Because in the last season, if we're being honest, does this put him in the running of maybe taking it again?
I don't think so, guys. Umex is we can hate. I know with some fans are Lewis Hamilton, they love him to death. And obviously, just want to add something else. So this has exposed, some Formula One fans. Guys, are you supporting the drivers?
No one's supporting
the brand. This has exposed a lot of people. But I think it won't affect Max that much or Red Bull. Probably Lewis Hamilton is gonna have another good season, But I think
he's naturally very talented driver.
He is a talented driver, but it is also gonna depend on Team Ferrari. What's their plan? Maybe having signed Hamilton, maybe they have a big plan on the cards. But I don't see Red Bull being affected in any way in terms of their performance. I see them, going on top again.
Yeah, and in terms of Ferrari as well, like Hamilton is joining them in 2025. So they still have lesos cuts, to improve their car for the coming season, number 1, and then get another shot again in 2025 with Hamilton coming in. So this is just a question of them blending in together well. And if it clicks, you're not going to have a better driver than Hamilton. So if you have your car efficient and working and fast, and you have a driver like Lewis Hamilton, it's a recipe for success. But Red Bull, on the other hand, has been dominant for the past 3 years, and they are the team to beat. So it's up to the other constructors and the other teams to actually catch up to these guys. And obviously they have Max Verstappen, who is currently the number 1 driver in Formula One. So it's interesting to see how everything is going to shape up. I'm really, really excited about the move. I think it has shaken up in Formula One, the sport itself. It was a bit, it was a bit boring, like just watching Red Bull winning all the time. We know who's Hamilton. Hamilton Mercedes. He's been driving for Mercedes pretty much his whole life, because even when he was at McLaren, he had a Mercedes engine. So you look at all those things, you're like, where's the excitement? Where's the change? Where's the shake-up in Formula One? And now we've got it. Lewis Hamilton going to Ferrari, the most successful team in history of Formula One, and now we want to see if he's actually going to get number 8.
All right. Lalelani, we can talk all day here, but I'm going to take us right now to the video of the week, which is a new segment here on Youff Sportz. Dog, Yabonga, Ayanda, Samgizi. We're going to be back next week chatting all things Premier League, because I know a lot of people have a lot to say about Liverpool and this and that and that. So we're going to chat about the run and the race, or rather, to the Premier League. So much to chat about.
Is there a race? But anyways, that's it.
When I'm telling you now, let's talk about Man United, and we've got a Liverpool fan here.
Man United
so please,
not been in a race since I don't know when.
There is no race.
We've been talking about.
Number 1. Sinavuma futhi ezolile kujabula abantu abafikile bazolile bajabula kakhulu thina asijabule abangasifule ebholeni bafuna nokujabula asibasule ngokujabula jabule sibasule beze bedide ukuthi kanti obani abawinile sijabule esifena masifika ukaqinisa umthetho mabona umuntu ojabulayo baseNigeria athi ajabule la ajabule ajabule isikoleni ajabuleke lapho abejabule lapho siyafika kujabule lapho